Okay, so if you still find yourself saying things like, the app that I built is amazing, well, you sound correct. I mean, grammatically, it's fine, right?
You're
B2 level, solid.
absolutely solid. But, and this is the big but we're tackling today, it doesn't sound advanced. You're missing out on ways to sound more precise, more professional.
Exactly. That's really the perfect setup for what we want to do here. We're aiming to push you past just being correct.
Right. We want to get you into that strategic fluency zone. So welcome, everyone, to the deep dive.
Yeah, welcome. And today's deep dive, we've really tailored this specifically for you. If you're, say, a young professional, maybe still at university, and you've got a good handle on English, B1, maybe B2.
Like you feel stuck, right? Trying to break through that ceiling to get to a true C1 level.
That's it. So our mission today isn't about going back over basic grammar rules you probably already know.
No, not at all. It's about showing you how native speakers or, very expert speakers actually use certain advanced structures, how they deploy them to communicate in a way that's, professional.
And concise.
Diplomatic, and even emotionally nuanced when needed.
So for this, we've basically dug into a whole stack of material focusing on 5 key areas that really make a difference.
We're looking at reduced clauses, getting rid of unnecessary words, then the advanced passive voice, using it strategically, some nuances in reported speech that often get missed.
Oh, and the subjunctive mood. That sounds fancy, but it's super useful.
It really is. Very elegant. And finally, structures for expressing regrets or wishes, things like wish and if only. These are the tools, really, that separate someone who just uses the language from someone who has truly mastered it.
And we promise, if you can get a handle on using these techniques strategically, it's the key. It's what helps you sound, clean, fluent, and really professional.
Whether you're writing a technical report, maybe drafting a tricky email, or even in a job interview for a competitive role, these things matter.
Okay, so let's dive right in. First up, how to sound sharper and more efficient. The art of conciseness.
Right, conciseness. It's something everyone talks about in professional communication. Say more with less.
Yeah, but how do you actually do that with grammar? Where do you start?
Well, a great place to start is by cutting out unnecessary fluff. And often, that fluff comes from relative clauses.
Okay. The who, which, that's things like the developer who fixed the bug.
Exactly. We all learned that structure. It adds extra info about a noun, and it's perfectly correct grammar, like you said. The developer who is fixing the critical bug is highly skilled. Nothing wrong there.
But it's a bit wordy.
It can be, yeah. Especially in, say, technical documents or quick emails or even LinkedIn summaries. That extra who is or that was can kind of slow the reader down, maybe dilute the impact a little.
Okay, so what's the secret? How do advanced speakers handle this?
The secret is knowing when you can just get rid of the relative pronoun, who, which, that, and usually the be verb is, was, are that goes with it.
You can just delete them.
Pretty much, yeah. But only when the subject of the main clause and the relative clause is the same thing or person. That's the key condition.
Okay, got it. So how does this work in practice? Are there different ways?
There are 2 main ways this reduction happens, depending on whether the original relative clause is in the active or passive voice. Let's start with active.
Active voice reduction.
Okay. So if the relative clause is active, you reduce it down to just the present participle, the ing form of the verb.
Give me an example.
Okay, take. The engineer who works on AI models recently joined Google. The relative clause is who works on AI models. It's active.
Right. The engineer does the working.
Exactly. So we take that who works and we basically swap it out for the ing form working.
So it becomes?
The engineer working on AI models recently joined Google.
Ah, okay. The engineer working on AI models.
Yeah, that feels cleaner, faster.
It is. You go from 3 words who works on down to just one main verb form working on. It makes your language denser, more efficient, flows better.
I can see that like in job ads maybe. Instead of saying, we need developers who know Python.
You'd often see developers knowing Python are in high demand. It sounds a bit more inherent, like the knowing Python is part of who they are. All right, it defines them more directly. Okay, that's the active voice. What about passive?
Okay, passive voice reduction. This one is, I'd say, even more common and maybe more important for formal and technical writing.
How does this one work?
Here, instead of the ing form, you reduce the relative clause down to the past participle, the third form of the verb, like built, collected, analyzed.
Okay, example time.
Let's use a data context. Original sentence. The data that was collected by the server was analyzed later.
Right, that was collected, passive structure.
Perfect. So here you have the relative pronoun that and the be verb was. In this reduced form, both of them just disappear, vanish.
Gone.
Gone. You're left with just the core descriptive part, the past participle, so it becomes the data collected was analyzed later.
The data collected, wow, okay, that's much shorter.
It's standard practice in high-level technical writing. Think about specs or reports. The system that we built last year is outdated, just becomes dated. The system built last year is outdated, much punchier.
That's a really useful trick. But hang on, are there times when you shouldn't do this? Could it get confusing?
That's a really important C1 level consideration.
Yes.
You need to be careful. If reducing the clause makes the sentence ambiguous.
Like you're not sure what the word is modifying.
Exactly. Or if the clause contains some other essential info that gets lost or awkward in the reduction. For instance, if the reduced part ends up really far from the noun it's describing, sometimes keeping the full who or which clause is just clearer.
So it's a trade-off sometimes. Speed versus absolute clarity.
Precisely. You have to judge the context. But for things like your CV, your LinkedIn profile, technical summaries, places where you want impact and efficiency, these reductions are pretty much essential.
It's like decluttering your sentences, getting rid of the unnecessary bits.
That's a great way to put it, linguistic decluttering.
Okay, so we've talked about making language concise. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about using grammar more strategically.
Yes, moving beyond just efficiency to think about tone and impact. And the passive voice is a prime example of this.
Right. Most people learning English get the basic structure drilled into them. Form of be plus the past participle, the ball was kicked. Simple enough.
Simple structure, yes. But C1 usage isn't just about forming it correctly. It's about when and why you choose to use it. It's a tool for controlling tone, managing blame or avoiding it, and establishing objectivity.
So it's not just grammar, it's like a communication tactic, almost like diplomacy.
You could definitely call it that. Think about it.
Yeah.
Why focus on who did something if the result, the outcome, is actually the important part for the situation or the business?
Okay, that makes sense. Tell me more.
Well, let's look at the first big advanced use, achieving objectivity and focusing on the result. In many fields, tech, engineering, business reporting, science, and process, the outcome often matters more than the specific person who did the action.
Right. Like, it doesn't matter who restarted the server, just that it was restarted.
Exactly. So instead of saying Sarah restarted the server at midnight, which puts the focus on Sarah,
You'd say,
the server was restarted at midnight. Boom. The focus shifts instantly to the server's status. It sounds neutral, professional, efficient, no ego involved.
I hear this in Agile stand-up sometimes. Instead of I finished deploying the API, people say, the new API was deployed successfully.
Precisely. Or in high-level reports. The issue was resolved. It just cuts straight to the important information without getting bogged down in who did what. It keeps the narrative professional and consistent.
Okay, that makes sense for objectivity. What about the diplomacy angle? You mentioned blame avoidance.
Ah, yes. This is probably one of the most powerful uses, especially in professional settings. The passive voice lets you talk about mistakes or problems without directly pointing a finger at someone.
How does that work? Is it about leaving someone out?
It often involves strategically omitting the agent, the person or thing doing the action, the by phrase, in a passive sentence like, the window was broken by the boy. By the boy is the agent. In professional context, if something went wrong, we often deliberately leave out that by phrase. Why? Because it allows you to discuss the event neutrally without assigning blame.
Okay. Give me a contrast.
Imagine you have to give feedback. Option 1, direct active voice. You made a mistake in the code.
Ouch. That sounds accusatory.
It does. Now, option 2, passive voice. A mistake was made in the code.
A mistake was made. It feels softer, less personal.
Exactly. You're still addressing the problem directly, but the grammatical structure kind of diffuses the responsibility. It makes the criticism feel more constructive, less like a personal attack.
I can see how that would be useful for managing clients or talking about setbacks.
Absolutely. Instead of saying, your team caused the delay, which sounds like you're blaming them and could make things tense.
You could say.
Some delays were experienced during deployment. It acknowledges the problem, focuses on the situation itself, and signals that you're prioritizing finding a solution over pointing fingers. It's tactful.
That distance it creates.
Yeah.
Is that why it's used so much in formal writing too? Like academic papers?
That's the third key area, yes. Formal writing and academia. The impersonal objective tone created by the passive is perfect when the data or the process needs to speak for itself.
You don't care who trained the AI model, just how it was trained.
Precisely. So you'll read things like, the model was trained using 10,000 data points. Or in documentation, a new framework was developed to improve scalability. The focus is entirely on the methodology, the findings, the technical aspects. The structure itself lends authority and objectivity.
Okay, that's clear. Now, you mentioned a pro trick involving modals.
Yes. Combining the passive voice with modal verbs like must, can, should, might gives you really fine-tuned control over the tone.
How's it look?
The structure is just modal verb plus be plus past participle. So, the bug must be fixed before release. That expresses a strong, unavoidable obligation.
Okay. Or, this feature can be accessed only by admins.
Perfect example. That clearly defines permission or capability. It's very functional grammar. It leaves very little room for doubt or misinterpretation about requirements or rules.
Got it. And there was one more bonus structure, something about reporting?
Ah, yes, the reporting passive. Structures like it is said or it is believed or it is known that.
What's the point of those?
They're a really smooth way to introduce common knowledge, general opinions, or widespread information without having to cite a specific source or say something clumsy like, lots of people think that.
Ah, okay. So you could say, it is believed that remote work increases productivity.
Exactly. Or it is known that the new regulations will require system updates. It lets you generalize gracefully. You're attributing the idea to common wisdom or general understanding, not just your own opinion or one specific person. Very useful in summaries or introductions.
Okay, passive voice, much more strategic than I thought.
It really is a versatile tool when you move beyond the basics.
All right, so we've covered conciseness with reduced clauses and strategic tone with the passive voice, mostly focusing on writing. Let's shift now to spoken fluency and reporting what others have said, reported speech.
Yes, absolutely crucial for everyday communication, summarizing meetings, relaying instructions, you name it.
Now, most of us learned the classic rule in school, right? You shift the tense back one step, present becomes past becomes past perfect.
Right. I am fixing the bug, she said, becomes, she said she was fixing the bug. That's the standard rule, and it's, grammatically safe.
But I sense a but coming.
Yes. The but is that sticking too rigidly to that rule can make you sound, well, a bit robotic. It sometimes doesn't reflect how native speakers actually handle reported speech in real time. It can even betray that C1 level we're aiming for.
Okay, so what's the C1 upgrade? What do advanced speakers do differently?
The crucial difference, and this is really key, is that native speakers prioritize context and current reality over just blindly following the grammar chart. Meaning, if the information you're reporting is still true right now, or if it's about a general truth, a fixed policy, a habit that continues, you often don't shift the tense back. You keep it in the present.
Ah, okay. So the always shift back rule isn't always true.
It's a guideline, but context overrides it for natural speech. Let's look at two examples to make this clear.
Okay, lay them on me.
Okay, say, the situation has changed. Imagine yesterday your colleague said, the servers are down. Now today, the servers are back online, working fine.
Okay, problem solved.
Right. So when you report what he said yesterday, you must shift the tense. He said the servers were down, the past tense reflects that the down state is finished, it's in the past.
Got it. That follows the old rule because the situation changed.
Exactly. Now, case B, permanent reality or ongoing policy. Imagine your team lead tells you, we use GitHub for all our projects. This is the team's standard practice. It's still true today and likely will be tomorrow.
Okay, standard procedure.
So when you report this, the most natural way is to keep the present tense. They said they use GitHub for all projects.
Not, they said they used GitHub.
You could say used, and grammatically it fits the old rule, but it sounds slightly less natural and could even subtly imply that maybe they used to use GitHub but don't anymore.
Oh, right. So keeping it in the present actually makes it more accurate to the current situation.
Precisely. That little nuance, aligning the reported tense with the current reality, is a hallmark of fluency. You only force the shift back when the statement itself really belongs entirely to the past. It's about being natural, not just mechanically applying a rule.
That's a really important distinction.
Okay,
what else about reported speech trips people up? Questions, commands.
Good point. Reporting questions and commands involves definite structural changes you have to master. When you report a question, two main things happen.
Okay.
One, you lose the question mark. Two, you lose the question inversion, where the verb comes before the subject. It goes back to a normal statement structure.
Right. So if the direct question is, where is the meeting?
You report it as, he asked where the meeting was. Notice was comes after the meeting. No inversion.
Okay. And for yes-no questions, like, did you test the feature?
You introduce if or whether. She asked if I had tested the feature, or she asked whether I had tested the feature. Again, normal sentence order after if or whether.
Got it. And commands or requests, like, don't close the tab.
For those, we use a pretty fixed formula. A reporting verb like tell, ask, advise, warn, plus the object, like me, him, us, plus to or not to, plus the base form of the verb.
So submit the report by EOD becomes.
He told me to submit the report by EOD.
And don't close the tab.
She told me not to close the tab, or maybe she warned me not to close the tab. This structure is really essential for clearly relaying instructions or orders.
Okay, what about modals like will, can, must? Do they change?
They often do. The common shifts are will becomes would, can becomes could, and must, usually for obligation, often becomes had to.
So I must finish this code, he said.
He said he had to finish the code.
But what about modals like should, might, could, would? The ones that are already sort of hypothetical or advisory.
Good question. Those ones often don't change. They're already a bit detached from simple past-present reality. So if someone said, we should test the patch first, you'd likely report it as, she said we should test the patch first. Should just stays should.
Okay, that simplifies things a bit.
And one last little thing to sound really natural. Try to use those mini reported thoughts or feelings.
Mini reported thoughts, like what?
Like saying, oh, I didn't realize the server was down, or I thought the deadline was next week. You're reporting your own internal state or assumption.
Okay. It adds a layer of reflection.
Exactly. It shows you're processing information, not just stating facts. It makes your conversation sound much more fluid and, well, human. Adds complexity naturally.
Okay, this next one, the subjunctive mood. I have to admit, it always sounds a bit intimidating. Maybe something people avoid.
It can seem that way. Many B2 learners kind of steer clear of it because it feels complicated or maybe a bit old-fashioned or rare.
Yeah.
But honestly, for C1 level, especially in professional or formal contexts, getting comfortable with the subjunctive is actually pretty essential. It's the language of, let's say, elegance, formality, requirement.
Right.
Even strategic detachment sometimes.
Okay, elegance and formality. Break it down for us. What is the subjunctive, basically?
At its core, the subjunctive is used for situations that aren't real or factual. They're hypothetical, wished for, demanded, suggested, or seen as necessary. It's about describing what could be or should be or must be rather than what is.
So it signals a kind of separation from reality.
That's a great way to put it, a separation from the immediate concrete facts. Let's start with the classic example everyone learns first.
The if I were you one.
Exactly, the hypothetical if clause. The rule here is simple but really important. For these unreal or hypothetical situations, you use were for all subjects, not was. Even for I, he, she, it.
So if I were rich.
Yeah, not?
If I was rich.
Correct. If I were you, I'd apply for that job. Using were instantly signals. This is hypothetical. I am not you.
Okay. And in a more technical context.
You might say, if the server were more stable, we wouldn't have these constant issues. Again, we're signals that unfortunately the server isn't currently stable. It's like writing pseudocode describing a desired but non-existent condition.
Right. It sets up a counterfactual scenario. Okay, that makes sense. But you said it's important professionally.
Yes, and this is where the formal subjunctive comes in. This is the one that really marks C1 plus formal communication.
Formal subjunctive.
Yeah.
Okay. When do we use this?
You use it in a that clause that follows certain verbs or adjectives, specifically verbs expressing suggestions, demands, requests, recommendations, suggest, demand, insist, request, recommend, or adjectives expressing importance or necessity, essential, crucial, vital, important, necessary.
Okay, so afterwards like suggest or essential. And what's the special grammar rule here?
This is the key structure that really stands out. In that clause, you use the base form of the verb. That means the infinitive without to.
Base form, like go, be, do.
Exactly. And here's the crucial part. You use that base form no matter what the subject is. No is for third person singular, no past tense ending, nothing. Just the pure, unadulterated base verb.
Wait, really? No is for he recommends that she?
Nope. Let's take an example. A standard B2 sentence might be, go. We recommend that the app is tested again. Or maybe, that the app should be tested again.
Okay, sounds normal.
Now, the formal C1 subjunctive version, we recommend that the app be tested again.
That the app be tested, just be.
Just be. It sounds very formal, very direct. Or the client demanded that the bug be fixed immediately. Again, just be.
Wow, okay. Another one.
It is essential that everyone attend the safety briefing. Not attends, just the base form attend.
And everyone attend. That definitely sounds different, more authoritative.
It does. It carries a lot of weight. You find it often in legal documents, official minutes, formal proposals, policy documents. It removes any ambiguity about requirement or necessity. It's crisp and mandatory.
So if I'm writing formal recommendations or summarizing required actions.
Using the subjunctive, we require that all personnel complete the training or sample. It is vital that the data remain confidential, makes your writing incredibly precise and professional.
Compared to, say, we require that all personnel completes the training.
The subjunctive complete is the more formally correct and, frankly, more sophisticated structure in that high-stakes context. It's worth noting, in more informal American English, you might hear should used instead. They suggested that he should leave. But the base form subjunctive, they suggested that he leave, is still the gold standard for formal, concise, international communication.
So choosing the subjunctive here is really about choosing a specific level of formality and authority.
Exactly. It forces the verb into its purest form, creating this neutral yet strong, mandated tone. It's a powerful tool for when clarity and formality are paramount. Okay, so far we've looked at conciseness, diplomacy, objectivity, formality, mostly the, let's say, functional side of professional language.
Right, getting the job done clearly and strategically.
But advanced fluency isn't just about function, it's also about expressing, well, the human side. Things like regret, frustration, desire, doing that naturally and accurately is also part of C1.
Ah, okay. So moving into more emotional nuance, where do we start with that?
The key structures here involve the words wish and if only. They're used to talk about things that are contrary to reality, things we want to be different.
And the grammar trick is?
The grammar trick is using what we call unreal tenses. Just like with the if I were you subjunctive, these structures use a tense that's shifted back, usually past simple or past perfect, to talk about a situation that isn't actually true in the present or wasn't true in the past.
Okay, unreal tenses for unreal situations.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What's the first structure?
Structure 1 is for expressing regrets or desires about the present. The formula is wish or if only, plus the past simple tense.
Past simple, to talk about the present.
Exactly, because the present situation is not the way you want it to be. So if you're unhappy with your current language skills, you'd say, I wish I spoke English more fluently. You use spoke, past simple, to talk about your present wish.
Okay, I wish I spoke.
Yeah.
Got it. Another example.
In a work context, maybe the deadline is too soon. You could say, I wish the deadline wasn't so tight. Or even better, using that subjunctive were we just talked about for extra formality. If only the deadline weren't so tight.
Weren't so tight. Right, using were for all subjects in these wish clauses too. I wish I were able to help more.
Perfect. Using this structure is much more sophisticated than just complaining directly, like, this deadline is terrible. Saying, I wish our deadlines were more realistic, sounds more reflective, maybe more polite even.
Okay, so that's wishing the present was different. What about wishing the past was different, regretting something that already happened?
Ah, yes, that's structure 2, past regrets. For this, the formula is wish or if only plus the past perfect tense, had plus past participle.
Past perfect. Okay. So this is for looking back.
Exactly. Looking back at something that happened or didn't happen that you now regret and cannot change. This is super useful for talking about career paths, reflecting on past projects, that sort of thing.
I wish I had taken that job offer 5 years ago.
Perfect example. Had taken past perfect signals clearly that the regret is about a finished past event. Or maybe reflecting on skills. If only I had known how useful coding would become for my career.
Yeah, I could see how that adds depth, especially maybe in interviews, talking about lessons learned. Looking back, I wish I'd asked for more feedback earlier on.
Precisely. It shows self-awareness and the ability to articulate complex thoughts about your own history. Very C1.
Okay, present regrets use past simple, past regrets use past perfect. Is there a third one?
There is. Structure 3 is a bit trickier. It's used to express annoyance or criticism about a situation or someone else's behavior that you want to change in the future, but you probably can't control it directly. The structure is wish or if only plus would plus base verb.
Okay, wish plus would. How does this work?
Think of it as the polite complaint structure about things outside your control. You're annoyed that the meeting is always late. I wish this meeting would start on time.
Ah, okay. Or maybe a colleague interrupts too much. I wish you would let other people finish speaking.
Exactly. You're expressing frustration about a recurring behavior or situation you want to change, but you can't just make it happen yourself.
Right. But you said outside your control. What's the catch there?
The crucial catch is you cannot use wish plus would for your own actions or habits that you can control.
So I can't say, I wish I would stop procrastinating.
No, that sounds very unnatural to a native speaker, because stopping procrastinating is, in theory, within your own control. For your own habits you want to change now, you go back to structure one, I wish I stopped procrastinating, using past simple.
Okay, that's a really important distinction. Wish plus would is only for complaining about external things or other people's annoying habits.
You got it. And one last tiny nuance. If only versus wish. Grammatically, they work the same way in these structures.
But they feel slightly different.
Yeah, if only usually sounds a bit more emotional, maybe more dramatic, or emphasizes the regret or frustration more strongly. Like, if someone gives you an obviously unworkable solution, you might sigh and say, if only it were that simple. It adds a touch more intensity than just, I wish it were that simple.
Okay, so mastering these 3 wish structures gives you a whole toolkit for expressing these more nuanced feelings: present dissatisfaction, past regrets, future annoyance.
Exactly. It moves you beyond just factual statements into expressing the complex internal realities of professional life. Things like, I wish our budget were bigger, present unreal, I wish we had anticipated that issue, past regret, or I wish the client would respond more quickly, future annoyance about external factor. It's about having the full range of expression.
That's incredibly useful. Really rounds out the picture of advanced communication. Hashtag tag outro.
So yeah, that brings us pretty much to the end of our deep dive today. We've covered a lot of ground, moving from basic correctness towards really strategic language use.
We really have. We've equipped you with tools, hopefully, to be much more concise and impactful. That was the reduced relative clauses. They're becoming more objective, more diplomatic using the advanced passive voice.
Right, and sounding more naturally fluent and context-aware when you're reporting what people said with those reported speech upgrades. Plus, adding that layer of formality and authority when needed using the subjunctive.
And finally, being able to articulate those more complex feelings, regret, desire, frustration, using wish, and if only, correctly. It's a whole C1 toolkit.
It really is. But, as always, the knowledge is only useful if you put it into practice. Don't just nod along here.
Yeah. What's the homework?
Okay, here's a challenge. Go back to an email you wrote recently, or maybe a sentence on your LinkedIn profile, or a line from a report. Find one sentence and try to rewrite it using one of these techniques.
Like, could you make it more concise with a reduced clause? Or could you use the formal subjunctive to sound more authoritative? Or maybe rephrase a criticism using the passive voice?
Exactly. Just try one. Test out how it feels, how it changes the weight or the precision of the sentence. Ask yourself next time you're writing something important or preparing for a key meeting, am I just getting the facts across? Or am I actually using my grammar strategically to manage how I'm perceived?
Because that choice of structure, it really can influence whether your message lands with the seriousness or the diplomacy you intended.
Absolutely. Getting to C1 isn't really just about having a bigger vocabulary or making fewer mistakes. It's about making deliberate choices with your language.
It's about leveraging these more complex structures to convey exactly the right tone, to establish your authority when needed, and to show that subtle emotional intelligence that marks a truly advanced communicator.
Yeah, the real secret power here, maybe, is realizing that grammar at this level isn't just a set of rules to follow, it's a toolkit for influence. These structures, the passive, the subjunctive, reduced clauses, they help you control the narrative, shape perceptions, and ultimately become not just a language user, but a language master.
A powerful thought to end on. So go out there, experiment, and start deploying your new C1 toolkit. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.